There is a very specific type of look a woman gives a man right before she decides to cheat on him. It's a look of finality. It's the moment she decides that you have reached your ceiling, that you are as successful as you're ever going to be, and that your predictable loyalty is no longer a prize but a cage. You are witnessing the total evaluation of your worth. You're the victim of the capability tax. You were the man who worked the 9-to-5, came home and gave her every ounce of your energy, but she used that stability to look over your shoulder for someone better. You're witnessing a psychological betrayal where she didn't just break your heart, she bet as much as she could against your future. She looked at you and thought, he's a loser who will never leave this town or this income. You're the victim of the stagnation sentence. While you were building a life for her, she was busy devaluing your potential to justify her infidelity. Behavioral observations show that when a woman cheats, she has convinced herself that the man she is with has no more upward mobility. Today, we are looking at why your sudden, massive success is the only language a betrayer truly understands, and why your revenge isn't about hurting her, but about becoming a man she no longer has the clearance to speak to. If you don't watch this until the final second, you're choosing to stay the small man she thought you were, instead of becoming the giant she never saw coming. The most brutal form of revenge isn't a phone call or an angry text. It's the moment she checks your social media a year from now and realizes that by cheating on you, she accidentally removed the only thing that was holding you back from becoming a millionaire. Men, this channel is more than content. It's a brotherhood that exists for those who refuse to be controlled, distracted, or broken. My ex told me men today are too weak, too distracted, and too controlled to ever unite. I didn't argue. I decided to prove her wrong. Every man who subscribes is proof that discipline, self-respect, and strength still exist. If you stand for truth, self-control, and knowing your value as a real man, if you're here to sharpen your mindset and live with standards, subscribe and stay. Like this video and make your presence known in the comments. Let's see who's serious and is ready to prove doubters wrong, because after this video, you'll be reborn as a new man who has discovered himself and is ready to take back his manhood. Make sure to subscribe and stay ahead, because we're just getting started. We have to look at the psychology of the status inversion. You see, brothers, a woman's attraction is often tied to a man's trajectory. When she cheats, she is declaring that your trajectory is flat. Behavioral patterns show that the old you was operating under the sacrifice delusion. You thought that by giving her everything, you were securing her love, but in reality, you were becoming invisible because you stopped growing. You are the victim of the comfort trap. You think you're just sad because she left, but you're actually suffering from status liquidation. She didn't just take her love, she took your identity as a winner. This leads us to the victimhood pit. You find yourself wanting to show her how much you're hurting so she'll feel guilty. You are being neurologically programmed to seek pity, but behavioral observations show that pity is the antithesis of attraction. You are being psychologically castrated by your own desire for her to understand your pain. The most dangerous part of this is the secondary disregard. When a man is down, a woman who is already cheated doesn't see a grieving partner. She sees evidence that she was right to leave. She sees your tears as proof that you are weak. You are the victim of the empathy gap. She is already onto the next winner, and every day you spend crying in your room is another day she wins the mental war. You are being spiritually gutted because you are using your remaining energy to look backward at a person who is looking forward. I want to tell you about a man named Marcus. Marcus was a retail manager, a man who gave his wife, Tiffany, every dime of his commission. He was the stable Marcus. He was the always there Marcus. But Tiffany found someone more exciting, a guy who rode a motorcycle and had no bank account, but had ambition. Marcus discovered the cheating through a photo on her friend's Instagram. Marcus was the loser in this story because he chose the pity strategy. When the truth came out, Marcus didn't build, he begged. He stopped going to work. He let his body go.
He spent his days calling Tiffany, telling her how broken he was and how he couldn't live without her. He was the victim of the emotional suicide. Tiffany didn't feel bad, she felt relieved. She told her friends, "See, I knew he was a loser. Look at how he's falling apart." Marcus spent 4 years in a state of rotting. He lost his apartment, he moved back into his parents' basement, and he became a bitter man who ranted on the internet about how all women are the same. He failed because he tried to use his loss as a way to get her back. He stayed in the ruins of the betrayal until he became the ruin itself. He was the victim of the martyrdom fallacy. You have to recognize the arrogance of the betrayer. When a woman cheats, she has already written the ending of your story in her head. She thinks she knows exactly where you'll be in 5 years, still in the same job, still looking the same, and still missing her. You are the victim of narrative hijacking. She has stolen the pen to your life story and written you in as a background character. Behavioral observations show that this is how she lives with her guilt, by convincing herself that she escaped a sinking ship. You are being psychologically deleted so she can sleep at night. The loser's loop is the man who thinks revenge is about getting a hotter girl. While that helps, it's a temporary fix. You are the victim of external validation. If you get a new girl just to show your ex, you are still letting your ex control your choices. Behavioral patterns suggest that the only way to truly get back at a cheater is to change your tax bracket and your body type. You have to become a man who is unrecognizable. You are being socially recoded. You have to realize that the old you was a man who was easy to leave. You have to build a new you that is impossible to ignore. The final stage of this first section is understanding the biological vengeance of the grind. When a man stops focusing on her and starts focusing on him, his body undergoes a massive chemical shift. You think you need closure, but what you actually need is dominance. You are being physically reforged by the fire of her betrayal. The man you used to be had to die so that the Titan could be born. You are being drained of your compliance so that you can finally lead. If you are still sending long paragraphs trying to explain your worth to the woman who cheated, you are speaking a language she no longer hears. You need to understand the concept of the success frequency. A woman who cheats on a man has muted his voice, but she can never mute his results. You're the victim of the explanation trap. You're trying to use words to fix a problem that only power can solve. You're witnessing a psychological evolution. She didn't break you. She gave you the only thing a man truly needs to become a king, a reason to outwork everyone. You're the victim of the underestimation bias. She bet against you, and today we are going to talk about how to make her lose the bet so badly it haunts her for the rest of her life. We are looking at the final psychological shifts, the silent build, the identity overhaul, and the mastery of the unattainable frame. I'm going to show you why the most brutal thing you can do to a woman who betrayed you is to become so successful that she has to ask her new boyfriend for permission just to say hello to you in public. If you don't watch this until the final second, you're choosing to stay the sad memory in her past, instead of becoming the golden standard she can never reach again. The ultimate revenge isn't seeing her cry. It's the moment she realizes that her cheating was the key that unlocked the door to the version of you she was never good enough to have. I know men with standards are here. If you value discipline, respect, and strength, subscribe, like, and comment. We have to talk about the sovereignty of the self-made king. You see, brothers, when a man reaches a high level of success after a betrayal, he experiences cognitive autonomy. He realizes that the woman who cheated wasn't a loss, she was an anchor. Behavioral observations suggest that men who reach peak physical and financial form after a breakup experience a status shock that completely resets their nervous system. You are being neurologically upgraded. The moment you realize your bank account and your bicep size are higher than they ever were with her, her power to hurt you vanishes. You are the victim of the emotional weight until the day you decide to trade that weight for iron. This leads us to the science of the unseen build. Most men make the mistake of posting their progress too soon. They want her to see them at the gym on week 1. This is a behavioral error. You are still seeking her approval. You're the victim of the validation itch. Behavioral patterns show that the most lethal form of success is the total blackout. You go dark, you disappear from her world, you work in the shadows for a year. You are being psychologically reset. By the time you reappear, you aren't just better, you're a different species of man. Let me tell you about a man named Julian. Julian was a high school teacher who was cheated on by his wife, Elena, with a local high roller. Elena told Julian he was boring and stagnant. She left him with nothing but the dog and half a bank account. Julian was the winner in this story because he chose the ghost protocol. He didn't beg, he didn't post sad quotes. He moved to a new city, took a job in software sales, and spent every waking hour either at his desk or at the squat rack. He was the invisible Julian. He realized that his pain was the only venture capital he had. Julian won because he understood that success is the only thing a cheater cannot argue with.
Within 3 years, Julian was the top earner in his region. He had dropped 40 pounds of relationship weight and replaced it with 15 pounds of lean muscle. He bought a car he actually liked and a house with a view. One day, Elena, whose high roller had dumped her for a younger model, saw Julian at a high-end charity gala. Julian looked like a movie star. He was confident, he was wealthy, and he was surrounded by high-value people. When Elena tried to approach him with a, "Hey, I've been thinking about you," Julian didn't get angry. He didn't bring up the cheating. He looked at her with a polite, distant smile and said, "I'm sorry, you look familiar. Have we met?" Julian won because he didn't just get better. He evolved past the memory. He made her realize that she didn't just cheat on a teacher. She cheated on a titan. He won because he realized that his ex wasn't the goal. She was the motivation to outgrow the goal. He became the man she now had to watch from the sidelines of a life she was no longer invited to. You have to recognize the hypergamic regret of the betrayer. This is a biological reality. When a woman sees a man she discarded suddenly rise in status, it triggers a resource panic. You are the victim of the lower frame as long as you were trying to get her back. But the moment you become the man every woman wants, she becomes the woman who had it and blew it. You are being biologically validated by your results. Your success doesn't just get back at her, it inverts the power dynamic. You are the one who is too good now. The winner's protocol is about the non-linear rise. You don't just want to be a little better, you want to be statistically impossible. You want your life to look so good that it looks like a movie to the person who thought you were a commercial. You are the sovereign man. You recognize that the best revenge is living well, but the brutal revenge is living so well she can't even afford to live in your circle. You are being hardened for the throne. Healing is the realization that her cheating was the investment you needed to buy your freedom. You are being reforged. You now know that your loyalty was a gift she didn't deserve, and your success is a reward she can't share. You are the master of your own psychology. You don't need closure from a woman who gave you betrayal. You need expansion. You are the sovereign man. You are the master of your own future. You don't look back at the scars she left. You look forward at the legacy you are building. So, here is the smart question for the Brotherhood today. If she hadn't cheated and made you feel that unbearable pain, would you have ever found the unbearable drive required to become the man you are standing as today?
I want to hear from the brothers who used the pain to build the plane. Tell us about the moment you realized you were finally over her because your new life was too big to fit her in it. For the men who are still in the gym crying, be honest. What's going to feel better? Her sorry or the day you buy that car she said you could never afford? Let's get the engagement up so we can show the brother in the back that his betrayal is actually his breakthrough. Your story might be the ignition he needs to stop looking at her profile and start looking at his bank statement. This channel is for men who are done blaming themselves for other people's choices. If that's you, don't leave as a spectator. Subscribe and stay ahead because we're just getting started. Support the message, speak in the comments, and stand with the men who choose clarity over confusion. I'll see you in the next one. Stay sharp, stay cold,